What's up, guys? It's the Unhinged Engineer here, and today we have episode 20 of my grad school vlog. So today we're going to be talking about the fuzzy logic assignment as part of the video game AI class that I've been doing for the majority of the summer. And so, yeah, I just want to roll right into it. There isn't a ton to talk about with this assignment, but overall I thought it was pretty interesting and was definitely different from the last few that we've done. So for this assignment, we had to control a race car going down a track, kind of like Rainbow Road style, where there's no guardrails on the sides, and basically you have to complete the track without falling off at all. I think you get one wipeout without falling off at all, and within a certain amount of time. And you have to give rules, fuzzy logic rules that make the car steer correctly, right? And so I had a few different kinds of rules about looking at the curvature of the track, making sure it stays on the center line of the track, measuring its own speed, and saying if you're going really fast and you're going into a turn, maybe slow down, stuff like that. And the whole fuzzy part of this fuzzy logic paradigm that we're using is that instead of operating on discrete values, like checking if your speed is at a certain threshold and that threshold is in feet per second, right? Instead of doing that, you're using different fuzzing factors to kind of take those and reinterpret them as usually floats between 0 and 1, right? And so for example, if instead of saying, if I'm traveling at a speed of 100 meters per second and this turn radius is less than 20 meters, slow down. Instead of doing that, you say, well, if I'm going at 0.8 fast, which means pretty fast, and the turn radius is 0.7 sharp, so that would mean it's pretty sharp. If those two things are true, you then put a command that says, brake, I don't know, maybe 0.4 hard, right? So pretty hard, but not that hard. And so you're using all these fuzzy rules, and there's a whole system of taking in these actual concrete values, fuzzing them, and then making decisions, and then defuzzing those outputs, right? Kind of like you would with some kind of transfer function in a control system, right? But obviously pretty different. This is more of a computer sciencey thing. So overall, I thought the lectures were actually pretty good for this one. I think overall lectures have been a little bit of a weak point for this class. But lectures were better, I think, this time than in general, and especially, good for me because I've never done fuzzy logic before. So this was kind of my first intro to it, and I think they did a pretty good job. There was also supplemental reading material that was also really helpful. And then the assignment itself was pretty good. I mean, I like that we've moved away from the dodgeball paradigm that we were using for, the decision trees and finite state machines and that kind of thing. I think distilling a system that complicated down into fuzzy logic would have just been more pain than it's worth. But the race car is a pretty motivating but also very simple test bench that they give you. And so it was interesting. I also think it was cool there was a drag race versus winding tracks. And so I know for my own case I had some pretty strong oscillation because I didn't set up my logic properly and there were conflicting rules, right? So that would cause on the drag race the car to kind of go back and forth really violently and slow down, not meeting the time requirement, right? So overall, I thought that it was actually a pretty good assignment. Unfortunately, I didn't really get as much value out of it as I was hoping to because I had to do the majority of it in an airport. We got a lot of things going on right now, so I kind of just had to do the quick and dirty, get it over with. So honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with the assignment overall, and I think if I had really given it as much bandwidth as it deserved, it would have been even better. So a bit of a missed opportunity there, but that's life. Sometimes it gets in the way. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with how the assignment went. I didn't get the highest score, but I got a good enough score, and I'm ready to move on with it. So yeah, that's basically it for the fuzzy logic assignment. The last assignment I'm gonna have to do, aside from the quizzes, is the procedurally generated content assignment, right? So I haven't looked at that at all. I haven't even looked at the lectures. I am pretty excited to read through this stuff. I mean, I've always wondered how Minecraft worlds are created or whatever. And so I think it'll be a pretty cool assignment to go through. So that is due on Monday. In addition to that, I think it's Monday, Sunday, I can't remember, but next week, basically, all the quizzes are due. So I've done all the quizzes for navigation stuff, so nav mesh, pathfinding, those kinds of things. I've done all those quizzes. That was about I would say 2/3 of them. But now there's a couple heavy hitting quizzes about decision making systems. So FSMs, decision trees, fuzzy logic, those kinds of things. Those quizzes are also due about next week, mainly because the class is almost over. So yeah, pretty recently I announced that I'm going to be taking computational photography next. I'm honestly super stoked for that class. I think it'll be a little bit more applicable than this one, but at the end of the day, I wanted a class that was still like somewhat applicable to my field in real life, but also like a little bit easier because I've got a lot of stuff going on. So I think overall this class satisfied that, and so too did the fuzzy logic assignment. So yeah, I'll be sure to let you guys know how all the quizzes go and how the procedurally generated content section is, and then eventually I will definitely do a final course review. So the last few vlogs themselves have been pretty light because the material's been pretty light, and so in each of these videos I've kind of alluded to overall what I'm thinking of the class, and as of now I don't really think anything's changed. I mean, like I said literally 10 minutes ago, I think it's serving its function well of like a class that is somewhat relevant to real world autonomy and AI stuff, but also like a bit lighter and a little bit more niche with some of the special considerations around video games, which I didn't know about at all before. I've never worked in a game engine before, I've never worked in C# before, and so all those little like bits and pieces of experience were definitely valuable and not too time intensive, right? So yeah, that's basically it for this vlog episode. Short and sweet. Next week I think I have a lot more to talk about because we'll have the wombo combo of quizzes plus procedurally generated content plus final grades coming out in the class ultimately ending. So there'll be a lot to talk about there, and then of course we'll have the big review at the end. So thanks a lot for watching. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm the Unhinged Engineer. I make professional development content for young engineers like me, and in addition to that, I'm vlogging my grad school at night journey. So I'm going to Georgia Tech doing the online Masters of Computer Science while continuing to work full-time in the aerospace and defense industry. So if any of those things are of interest to you, I highly recommend you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.